It doesn't matter how much hormone we throw at you, how many supplements we throw at you. If you don't have some of these foundational things in place for your gut, it's not going to work.
I didn't know that estrogen was an immune system modulator. I didn't know it was the CEO of my brain running the show. Like, no one teaches you that.
Social media will have you believe that if you don't make split-second decisions and fix stuff all the time, then you're just weak and, but that is not true.
We have a no screen policy. We now see the result of what screens have done to our children. And it is, I don't even have words.
When you allow yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of time, a little bit of breather, and you're not just go, 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 that's when you get the best ideas.
Welcome back to the Energized with Dr. Mariza podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mariza, and I'm here to help you rock your hormones, optimize your metabolic health, and feel energized in your body so that you can age powerfully and wake up feeling amazing in your body for many years to come. Let's jump on in.
One of my patients started with me not too long ago, and she came to me convinced that her hormones were completely falling apart. I think that's exactly how she said it. And she described feeling exhausted all the time, super bloated after meals, waking up at 3 a.m. Her skin was breaking out, especially around the jaw and the lower area of her face. Her anxiety had just gotten worse, and she had this stubborn weight gain around her belly that just would not budge, despite throwing everything at the wall, including the kitchen sink. She had tried supplements, hormone support, healthy eating, exercising significantly more than ever before, and nothing seemed to move the needle. And the most frustrating part was that when she went to her primary doctor, she was told that her labs were normal and to just wait it out. Let's just wait and see what happens. But when she came to me and we started digging deeper, so much of what was driving her symptoms traced right back to her gut. And honestly, I see versions of the story all of the time in my women over 40, even in my women in their 30s, because gut and hormone systems, your endocrine system, are deeply connected. And when the gut is inflamed, we know that it is impacting every system of the body, including your brain, your mood, your sleep, your blood sugar, your metabolism. I mean, everything is being impacted, and the weight resistance, right? And so today's conversation, I just want to dive and touch upon this a little bit more, because sometimes it can be hard when we're being told that everything is normal, but we know that something is inherently not normal. My guest today is Dr. Cassie Smith, dual board certified endocrinologist, founder of Modern Endocrine, and the author of a brand new book called Fix Your Gut, Fix Your Hormones. I mean, straight to the point, that's exactly what she's bringing to the table today. After becoming frustrated with the limitations of conventional medicine, she built a practice focused on helping patients uncover the root causes behind why they still felt unwell despite experiencing normal labs. Today, we're going to be talking about the gut-hormone connection, how gut dysfunction can impact metabolism, thyroid function, inflammation, mood, and hormone balance, the symptoms women should pay attention to, and simple ways to start supporting both systems together so that you can feel better in your body again. Let's welcome Dr. Cassie Smith to the show. Cassie, honey, Dr. Cassie Smith, it is a pleasure to have you on. I have been so excited to have this conversation, and I loved our camaraderie, our connection, our alignment when I got to be on your show, and I'm so excited to talk about your new book. But how I want to start this conversation today is something that I think you and I see with our patients all of the time, and this underlying chronic stress burden that has a profound impact on our blood glucose, on our gut microbiome diversity, on inflammation and oxidative stress, even visceral belly fat. Now, I know you have a book out specifically tying the connections between our gut health and our endocrine health. And so I'd love to hear, how do you see stress play out in your patients when it comes to gut health?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Mariza. So I have a book, Fix Your Gut, Fix Your Hormones. You can get it on Amazon.
I love how clear it is. It's so clear. It's like this. If you got a gut issue, you got a hormone issue, mind you, if you have one, you have the other.
Yeah. And it's the critical connection your doctor's missing and why you still feel terrible despite normal labs. So it's, but to your point, like we were talking, I think that stress is one thing that people really just don't. It's almost like we've normalized it. You and I were talking about this. It's just like there's dings and there's so many things on our to-do list. And it's just like things invade it used to be like people went to work from Monday through Friday and then that was it. Like so many things are invading our weekends, our kids' sports, just everything. And it's like there are no boundaries anymore with stress. Our phone dings at us all the time. You agree to get that when you download the newest version of your iPhone. And, you have emails that come to you all the time because you've accidentally subscribed to things. People are calling you. It's just so much input that I think we've just come accustomed to it, right? And the problem with that is that when you feel like, man, I've got a lot going on and I feel stressed, your gut and your brain sense that, because when your brain feels stressed or you just feel like anxious with all the things you have to do, your gut, by way of your vagus nerve, will get that impulse from your brain and it will change what's going on in your gut. It changes how we absorb food. It changes how we make hormones. It changes how our food is, where our food is stored, whether it be our fat cells, our liver, our muscle. And so all these things are happening in our gut without us really realizing it, just from things like stress.
Mhm. I think a lot of people don't put together the pieces. They feel exhausted in the morning, or they feel like they're reactive, or maybe they just don't have a lot of energy in the tank and they don't realize that those blood sugar crashes or their brain not working the way that it used to is directly connected to our gut. That stress is having a profound impact on all facets of the body, but some systems are getting hit harder.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think a lot of times people, this is part of the problem with the health crisis in this country. If you're listening to this, especially if you're a middle-aged woman, you go to your doctor and you're like, man, I've got brain fog and I'm gaining weight and I just feel tired. And maybe you have acid reflux, maybe you're bloated, maybe you're getting weird skin, like itching issues or rashes. Maybe you're getting migraines and you go to your doctor with these symptoms and they are just like, oh, they blame it on, oh, you're stressed. Nobody puts together that actually all these things can all come from gut dysfunction, right? So from head to toe, I mean, anxiety, depression issues, I mean, all sorts of issues can actually be gut related. And so your body is screaming at you, especially when you're stressed with symptoms. We just don't take all those symptoms and realize, hey, this could actually be impacting my gut, or these symptoms that I'm having can be coming from the fact that I have all this gut dysfunction because I am so stressed out, right?
Yeah, agreed. Well, this is what we hear so often in midlife. My patients, my women, we're quick. I feel like for a little bit over a decade now, we've been so quick to be like, it's hormones. And
Right.
yes, hormones are definitely playing a role in this conversation. They're not involved. And, when we think about it's just being hormones, like stress, it's a bit easy to write off. It's like, oh, it's chaos. Oh, it's hormones. But when we dig deeper, there are some underlying root causes. I always say that hormones are doing the best they can with what they've got in the moment that they're in. Like they're being driven by your lifestyle. And they're being driven by choices. And they're also being driven, especially in perimenopause, by, ovarian senescence, like ovaries coming offline. But can you talk to me a little bit about, the relationship between hormones erratically declining in perimenopause and how involved is our gut microbiome diversity?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. So to your point, hormones are doing the best they can in the environment that we give them. So a lot of these things that people don't want to talk about that aren't really sexy, like sleep and light therapy and movement and relationships and self-talk. I mean, these things are very important because these things will feed back to your gut. And if your gut feels like, wow, something's wrong, then it sends an alarm signal and we get something called cytokines released, which cause our immune system to come in and think we're being attacked. And so all these different things are happening, which then affect how our body can actually produce hormones, right? And also, even though our hormones may be present and in our blood and produced, a lot of times hormones have to be conjugated or turned into another hormone or turned on or activated. And when we have a lot of stress and we're really inflamed, it will prohibit that hormone that's even present from being able to turn itself on or being able to get into the cell it needs to get into to work. So there are so many issues with our hormones that can fluctuate throughout the day. And a lot of these things were made as survival mechanisms, right? Like there's a reason our body does this, because if you're walking along and you see a lion and you're like, and you have to run from the lion, there are reasons your hormones change or different things happen in your body to keep you safe. But when our body's chronically feeling overstimulated and stressed, it's not a good thing. And so to answer your question, when our hormones start to shift because of just, we're going through menopause and our hormones are shifting. When one hormone changes, it can actually, it's like a domino effect, right? All of our hormones work together. So as we start to lose, progesterone and estrogen as a woman, that will impact the diversity of our gut, the different bacteria that are in our gut. When we start killing good bacteria in our gut, now that's going to affect how we metabolize the food that we eat. So maybe our insulin levels are higher. So now when we eat the same food, more of it is going to get stored as fat as opposed to going to skeletal muscle. It's going to be harder to build muscle. Our cortisol levels are going to be higher. It's going to be harder to go to sleep. And so little changes in our hormones just from aging, if we aren't resilient and have a good gut and have good, lifestyle choices, can drastically impact, our estrogen changing can impact our cortisol, our insulin, our thyroid hormone, our growth hormone. Then this is going to affect our sleep, our weight, our metabolism. So it's so all of it is intertwined. It's very, everything affects everything else. It's not compartmentalized sometimes like medicine wants it to be. And so I think that's where a lot of people just don't understand that one little fluctuation in a hormone can actually cause a domino effect throughout your entire body.
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that these hormones are not operating in a silo, that they're all interconnected. And a lot of it has to do with, our liver and our gut. I think about with declining estrogen levels, we do see a microbiome diversity shift, and really it's a decline, if anything. And that always concerns me because, with the estrobolome, we really need to be able to metabolize those estrogen metabolites and send them out the door. But when we have this kind of fragile gut microbiome that is not, again, not having the really helpful bacteria to break that down, we then start to see this recirculation. And I don't know if you've seen this with your patients, but I will see, relative unopposed estrogen, particularly in like early perimenopause, even into mid perimenopause. And, it's more so it's a gut issue than it is, an estrogen creation issue.
Completely agree. Our estrobolome is so important. And I think, it's really frustrating because we have an increased risk of breast cancer in women, right? About 1 in 4 women are getting breast cancer now over their lifetime. And we want to blame hormones and we want to blame all these things. It is a issue with the way your hormones are metabolizing in your body. And when your estrobolome is out of balance, or the gut microbiome in your gut that help metabolize estrogen, and we're metabolizing estrogen down the wrong pathway because we're chronically stressed, because our insulin is high and we're insulin resistant, because we're not sleeping enough, because of all of these things, and then we blame hormones, it's not fair. It's actually like, no, we need to step back and see, how is that hormone metabolizing through your body? Because hormones are never bad. Like they're never in the wrong. It's how our body takes those hormones and metabolizes them, utilizes them, and then gets rid of them, to your point. And if our body can't get rid of our hormones and we're making toxic metabolites from those hormones because our gut isn't working, because of other things, then it's not fair to blame the hormone, in my opinion. Right?
I agree. It's come on, gut. Well, come on, us.
Yeah.
And I think like so many other things, movement or sleep, hopefully we're being intentional about those. We also really need to be intentional about our gut. I was just talking to my little 5-year-old about poop the other day and how I look at it, and his particularly because I want to make sure that he has healthy poops. And he just thought that was so fascinating. And I was like, it's an indicator of good gut health of how, it's not like this, it's not a full, a GI map or anything like that, but it gives me a good sense of things. And we were talking about the types of foods that feed our tummy friends. And we're talking about what really supports our gut. And so what I would love to do right now is a little bit steer, because I know when women think, I think inherently We hear enough that the gut is a major player here. It is a driver of our health, or it's a driver of inflammation, and that it's really at the epicenter of our global health. And yet, when we think about what we can do, I don't think people realize how powerful the lifestyle levers are. For example, when I think about stress eating, you're going to have a bigger blood sugar response than if you were mindfully eating. It's going to be, you're talking about being in sympathetic nervous system and trying to get your digestive system to work in a state of autonomic stress when it's meant to be turned off or suppressed to some degree. And so lifestyle levers versus when do we know that we need to go deeper and really see what's going on, get to the root cause, do more diagnostic testing, outside of what is considered conventional gut testing.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Like, if you're listening to this and you think, man, something could be going on and my doctor says my labs are normal. I mean, that's part of why I wrote this book, because I feel like every woman that has come to me for the last 10 years, thousands of them have said, well, I saw another doctor for years and everything was normal, right? And by the time they get to me and you really dig into their labs, they're kind of, for lack of a better word, a metabolic dumpster fire, right? And you're like, man, if you would have came to me 5 years ago, because as one thing starts to break, it compounds, right? And so I think if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't feel well, right? I'm tired. I don't sleep well. When I wake up after 8 hours of sleep, I'm still tired. I'm having a hard time doing the things that I should be able to do. I truly am not eating, emotionally eating all the time. I'm not eating in excess. I'm gaining weight. I mean, if you're having symptoms, I'm bloated, I have acid reflux, and your doctor says your labs are normal and you're fine, you really need to not give up, right? Like, and I don't think it's that doctors mean to be mean, right? It's just that sometimes some doctors don't have the tools in their tool belt to actually help you. Traditional medicine doctors go to school like you and I did, and they're really good at, like, if you're dying, right? If you're dying, if you're having a COPD exacerbation, you can't breathe, you break your arm, whatever, you need your primary care doctor. But if something is not optimal or right, and you're looking more towards preventative health, unfortunately, traditional healthcare is not set up for that. So you need to be thinking about, maybe I need to find another provider to help me with that. Not that you need to leave your provider necessarily, but you need to, it would be like me calling a plumber to my house and being like, why does my light switch not work? Like, why is this electrical not working, right? It's not that the plumber is trying to be mean. It's just he's not equipped to help you with that. So I think if you're not feeling well and you have, some of these symptoms, you need to be looking for, hey, maybe I need to find a provider that will do more of an extensive lab panel, right? Or if I am having multiple gut symptoms or multiple symptoms that I think could be relating to my gut, I need to do a GI map, or I need to do a stool study, all right? But what I don't want people to do is I hate to use the word gaslighting, but I mean, sometimes there is medical gaslighting when it's not meant to happen, right? I don't want you to let a provider say, this, you're fine, don't worry about this, when something is going on. You may just have to find somebody else to help you. And that's part of why I wrote the book, right? There's lab tests in there that you can ask your provider to run. There's graphs in there that says, hey, this is normal, this is not, throughout different parts of your life. And just so that you have some information to go off of.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it can be really complicated and difficult when we've got conventional providers who gut health isn't their area of expertise at all. It is very much a specialty. And, they kind of run their own little battery of tests. Maybe you even get a scope. They just, it doesn't always lend to giving you the level of information that you're looking for. Is this IBS? Is this SIBO? Like, trying to get clear about what's going on. Or is this H. pylori that I'm dealing with? Or maybe it's, there's just a number of things could be happening in the gut that require some advanced testing. As a woman listening to this, let's say, perimenopausal, menopausal, knows hormones are shifting and declining, and has noticed some major shifts as well, and also has noticed some bloating and some discomfort. Would you recommend, Cassie, for as listening, maybe it's not all the time. I find with perimenopause, it's very hit and miss. It can be very hit and miss sometimes. It's a moving target, and sometimes our guts totally, feels really, really good. Would it be more trying the lifestyle first, like grabbing the book, trying some of the lifestyle strategies, and if things progress, go and seek out somebody to go do more advanced testing. And the reason why I ask this is because I'm such a big proponent of accessibility. You know, like I want all the labs and I also want it to be doable and accessible. And so curious where you land as a functional provider.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I actually, chapter 1 of my book is just like, what is your gut? What is your microbiome? What feeds it? How does it get to where it is? Chapter 2 is just that. Hey, here are 10 steps that you can do to start working on your gut and see if your symptoms improve. Because I think it's really important. Like, if it's just that you wake up in the morning and you're slamming all this sugar and caffeine right into your gut, you're not eating any fiber, there are some things you can do that might improve 80% of your symptoms. And you don't need somebody like me or like you. You need you need to take a truthful approach of like, what am I putting in my body, and fix it, right? So I do think that there are some very simple things you can do to try to make yourself feel better. And then if you aren't feeling better and you're like, man, something is still not right, then there are labs and there are gut studies and there's a ton of things you can do. But to your point, the not sexy stuff that nobody talks about, the how much caffeine and sugar and processed foods are you consuming? Are you moving your body every day a reasonable amount? Are you drinking enough water? Do you see the sunlight? Do you go to bed in general, the same time? And are you getting 7 to 9 restful hours of sleep a night? Are you in a safe environment and relationship? Are you not being physically or verbally abused? These are very important things that, like, if these things are not going okay, it doesn't matter how much hormone we throw at you, how many supplements we throw at you. If you give somebody $20,000 to make you better, take every peptide and do every test, if you don't have some of these foundational things in place for your gut, it's not going to work. And so I kind of walk people through that in the book too. Like, hey, you can't come to me and expect me to fix you if you're drinking literally 3 pots of coffee and 7 energy drinks a day and all you're consuming is processed foods. It's not going to work, right?
Yeah, great. It's just kind of it's like throwing a bucket at a forest fire.
Mhm.
You're not going to get it done. And I so
Right.
deeply appreciate that. Yeah, if you're starting your morning on the blood sugar roller coaster and you're pumping caffeine and energy drinks into your system and your sleep is wonky, it's going to be really hard. I even say hormones. Hormones need a healthy host to function because ultimately they have to bind to receptor sites. They're communicators. And if that whole communication system is not working properly because of all the stress, all the inflammation, all the oxidative stress in the body, it's just not going to be received at all. It's just not going to happen. I love the lifestyle piece. I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about the connection. We talked about stress in the gut and the driver of inflammation there and what it can lead to. Even autoimmune conditions. But I actually want to pivot. We started this when we were talking before we started to push record polycystic ovarian syndrome and the
Mhm.
gut microbiome in relation to our overall reproductive longevity and reproductive health. But also, more so, when I think about polycystic ovarian syndrome, I think about metabolic dysfunction. And I'd love to connect the dots between metabolic dysfunction and gut dysfunction because I find them to be deeply connected and correlated.
Yeah, I think this is so pivotal, and especially right now. So I've been in this space now about 10 years, and I will tell you in the last 5, I'm highly concerned what's happening to young people, right? These girls who lived through COVID and were at home in their teenage years, right? And just a lot of stress, and now are kind of addicted to social media, which is a huge just stressor, dopamine, just trashes your dopamine. And now they're becoming, 19, 20, 21, going to college, which is more stress on their body, just having terrible hormone issues, right? Which ultimately long term is going to affect their fertility. And I talk about that in the book too, how actually fertility rates are at the lowest they have ever been. It's actually very alarming because when you have all this chronic stress, then it's going to lead to issues with your gut. It's going to make your cortisol higher, which is going to drive your insulin up as well. And when we have high cortisol, it suppresses our progesterone. And when we have high insulin, it suppresses our endogenous production of estrogen. So we have all these women now who are not producing enough estrogen. They're not producing enough progesterone, which further impacts their gut, causes them to be more constipated, causes them to have less diversity in their gut and their microbiome, which then is going to further mess with their estrobolome, which we talked about. They can't detoxify their estrogen. So they're having these terribly painful periods that sporadically come, and they go to their OBGYN and their doctor and they say, well, let's just give you birth control, right? Because we don't know what's going on and we're not going to talk to you. And so a lot of these girls get put on birth control, which we know then actually worsens this anovulatory cycle issue, because now we're giving somebody synthetic hormone instead of letting their body make it, which will further drive up their insulin and make their metabolic issues worse. And so we just have these compounded issues. And to your point, when your gut is not working right, it will drive your insulin up. You will metabolically become sicker and sicker. Also, because when we have a gut issue, now our T4 is not converting to T3. We need thyroid hormone to help our metabolism. So just all these compounded issues that you and I learned in traditional medicine, we're like, well, that's just how you treat them, right? But it really is making things so much worse, because then 10 years down the line, these girls get off their birth control because they want to have babies and they're not having periods, or they're having very irregular periods. They're not ovulating because they're in such bad metabolic health, and nobody realized it because nobody's checking their fasting insulin. They're just like, oh, you're not diabetic. And nobody knew they weren't having normal menstrual cycles because they're having fake menstrual cycles with their fake hormones every month. And it's a big, big, big problem.
Yeah, it is. Gosh, you so well defined it. And it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I know so many young girls who, you know, higher levels of anxiety during COVID and
Mhm.
drinking the most insane drinks from like Starbucks, just sugar. We're talking 50 plus grams of sugar. We've got anxiety, we've got sugar, we've got, again, menstrual issues as well. And not just, I think about the other compounding issues here. So much even more than gut is mitochondrial dysfunction, right? And high levels of inflammation. It's no wonder 10 years down the line, we have women who can't seem to get their cycles back. And it wrecks me, that we're not educating our girls. We're not really understanding. We're not getting in front of them in puberty. I just finished The Anxious Generation, the book, and I was just appalled. And so we have a no screen policy. Mind you, I have a little person, like a 5-year-old, but it's a full body no. Like we now see the result of what screens have done to our children. And it's, I don't even have words. It's so alarming. But you're right. The more and more we see these girls in their teens and in their early 20s already with symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome, either being misdiagnosed or mismanaged, it's outrageous.
Yeah. And then if you throw on top of that, these girls have a dysbiotic gut because, to your point, we're on our phones, we're chronically stressed. Maybe we're not eating the best. We're starting our day at Starbucks because we want that caffeine rush, which got a lot of sugar in there and we don't even realize it. It's not that it's their fault. That's the other thing, is like, there's so many,
No.
it's not your fault. The food industry is terrible. Like, just so many, ways that things are, all the inputs that are getting thrown at you are not good. And so then, yes, these girls, unfortunately, they don't have good working guts either. And so it's like you pull them off their birth control and then their body's like, wait a minute, you want me to make hormones? I haven't made hormones in 10 years. And then even though their body's trying, there's so much dysfunction in their gut that they end up, really painful periods. It's hurting again, kind of like when they got put on the birth control and then they're like, they don't know what to do. They want to get back on it. And they go to their doctor and their doctor's like, okay, fine. Instead of really, if we would have focused on these things while they were on the birth control, it would have been easier to come off it. I have girls who come to me who say, hey, I heard your podcast or I read your book, whatever, and I'm on birth control and I want to come off of it because I want to have a baby in 2 or 3 years. My first thing to them is like, okay, let's first see what's going on with your other hormones, right? Let's look at what's going on with your gut. Let's try to clean some of that up and then let's take you off. Because if you just take somebody off their birth control, I want to take them off, trust me. But it's like, if other things are not in line, it's going to be a really negative process for them. And it really breaks my heart because I have so many girls who come to me who are ready to have babies and they think, oh, I'm just going to get off my birth control and everything's going to be fine. And when we start talking to them, oh, I got put on it because they think I had PCOS. And you're just sitting there going, it's not going to be good, right? Because what have you been doing for the last 10 years? I've just been taking my birth control. Nobody talks to them about, okay, well, if you do have PCOS and you're metabolically unhealthy when we put you on the birth control, we need to be working on these things while we're on the birth control. And so it's really disheartening. And, people like you and I see the implications of these decisions that are being made when people maybe aren't being given the whole story when they're put on the birth control, right?
Yeah, and even on the flip side, just to kind of bring it over to my women, I call the perimenopause starter pack is hormonal birth control for
Yes.
symptom management, because for so long
Yes.
we thought about perimenopause as irregular or missed cycles, hot flashes, night sweats, and maybe low libido and insomnia. And so while if perimenopause is a reproductive issue and it's a cycle issue where it's at some point you're just not going to have a period anymore, which we know that it's so much more than that, then why don't we just address that with hormonal birth control? And so then you have women who are 53, 55 years old, finally coming off of it after 10 years, and, and same devastating type of experience and symptoms, where women are terrified to come off of the pill.
Well, and also because a lot of these women maybe aren't being managed appropriately, right? We know that we lose testosterone in our 30s and 40s. So it's like maybe we should give them a little bit of testosterone as we transition them off. Maybe we should make their thyroids working. Maybe we should make sure their insulin isn't super high, right? And so I see this all the time too. 49-year-old women come to me, "Hey, my OBGYN says I should probably get off my pill because I'm getting ready to go through menopause." I'm like, "Well, you should have got off your pill at least 10 years ago." But yeah, that's a good start. So like taking them off their birth control, maybe trying some micronized progesterone, replacing their testosterone. But to your point, like it's just not beneficial for them. And we know that birth control affects your gut. So I have a whole section in my book about all the negative things it does to your gut, all the negative things it does, to other organs as well. And so it's not a benign synthetic hormone. And I just really wish that we could, get that together. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in the hormone world is like, no, estrogen does not cause cancer and no, birth control is not the treatment for PCOS. Like those two things, right? Like gotta get those
cycles,
or irregular, yes, or painful cycles. If you're having irregular
or endometriosis.
Right. Or endometriosis. Let's figure out what is causing that. And then let's fix that. Let's go to the root cause, because otherwise it just continues to compound and get worse.
I agree. I mean, I will say I am not against hormonal birth control in terms of as a form of contraception, but I think it's really, really important that women have informed consent, that they understand the side effects. They're not being gaslit about what they could experience. I think it's like 50% of women barely come off of birth control within the year because of the symptoms. And so it's important for us to know. And also, if we are going to put women on hormonal birth control for polycystic ovarian syndrome or significantly serious, irregular cycles, or, the luteal defect, or, what I call crime scene periods, especially in perimenopause, we need a more comprehensive plan of managing that. We can't just pretend like this Band-Aid is a fix-all when it's anything but.
Right. Because when you take them off of it, those things are going to be
I'm right back. If not even worse.
Yeah. And I agree. If you need birth control for hormonal contraception, then that's one conversation. But then we can have other conversations too, right? There are other things. There are progesterone only IUDs. Right. But then you also need to have
condoms, everybody. There's vasectomies. I mean, I could keep going on.
Yeah, there's vasectomies. There are ovulation sticks you can pee on every month. There's basal body temperature tracking. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. So I do think it's just, but I almost feel like birth control is kind of the way primary care doctors also treat women who have anxiety. You go to your doctor and you're like, "Yeah, I have anxiety." They write you a prescription for an SSRI and walk out of the room. It's like, no, we need to really think about this, why are their periods heavy and why do they hurt? And it's just, I don't know, it is a huge, huge problem in young girls. And, I used to not see adolescents in my practice at all. I was like, no, I've started to, unfortunately, just because it's like, I see their moms and then their moms are like, "Hey, they want to put my daughter on birth control because X, Y, and Z." I'm like, that's not the answer. Well, I can't find anyone who will do anything else. And it's just, we've got to change this mindset. Because again, our fertility rates are really bad. And I see the other end of it. And I feel really bad for these girls who are 31, 32, who then are trying to have babies. And nobody told them when they put them on birth control, "Hey, if you're on this pill for 10 years, when you come off, it can take years for your cycle to return and be normal. And, it's unfortunate.
It is. Yeah. I just had Dr. Natalie Crawford on the show. She's going to go live in a probably around the same time this one is as well. And we were talking about, infertility rates. We were talking about inflammation and blood sugar deregulation, metabolic dysfunction, and how all of these that this is where we're at. And, how we're really missing the boat really early on with our younger girls, learning how to take care of their bodies and nourish their bodies and really just understanding their cycles. Thank goodness it is shifting and changing. And I'll be honest with you, you know, so however you feel about social media, the one thing I will say is that we have a lot of women, and not to say that there isn't misinformation, but I know that when I was growing up, and I've talked about this on the show with a number of doctors, but my period was just something I had to endure and deal with. And it was just an unfortunate experience that I, as a woman, had to deal with every single month. This is how it was painted to me. And I was like, okay, well, this is just this, this nuisance or this unfortunate, too bad you're an XX chromosome. It is what it is. And I had no idea that it was really a superpower. I didn't understand, the rhythmic nature of our hormones and what that meant in terms of, turning on genes that suppressed tumor growth, turning on genes that reduced inflammation. I didn't know that estrogen was an immune system modulator. I didn't know it was the CEO of my brain running the show. Like, I had no idea it was regulating insulin sensitivity. Like, no one teaches you that. You don't realize how much of a superpower you are because you 3D print human beings and how it's all interconnected. And I think if we educated girls more along that line and really helped them to understand the rhythmic nature of their hormones so that they didn't beat themselves up in their late luteal phase, that was normal for them to feel that way. I mean, even healthy, we're going to have a little bit of, some PMS and some changes or just going inward. If we did our due diligence in educating young girls, we wouldn't have them, turning directly to birth control or, looking to shut down the problem when we really need to nurture their bodies. And so I really hope that we shift that. I hope that these types of conversations, the moms that are listening or the aunties that are listening or even the women that are listening, that we start to look at this very differently.
Amen. Yes. I love that.
Well, I want to steer towards Cassie. I mean, what has been for you, when you're working with these younger girls with polycystic ovarian syndrome and even helping them to come off of birth control, what are some of the kind of the highlights that have really moved the needle for some of your patients?
Well, I think really teaching them all the things that affect your hormones, right? So again, why I wrote the book, it's how are you sleeping? A lot of young girls are up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. They're missing that amazing growth hormone production window, right? Between 11 and 2. Like, we need to be going to bed. We need to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, And so just educating them on, hey, this is really important. Boundaries, right? Like, a lot of people will tell me, well, I don't have time for that. I don't have, I have to do this for my family. I have to do that. You also have to take care of yourself or you can't show up for your family, right? So I think just educating people on some simple boundaries and, things like sleep, but then also really educating them about, hey, your gut is so important when it comes to your hormones, like we've been talking about. If you're not giving yourself the nutrition that you need and you're not paying attention to the symptoms that your gut is giving you, then you're not going to get better. So I think whenever I'm trying to get people off of birth control, looking at a big picture of all their labs to know what else is working well, what is not. And then if they have any symptoms, having them do a gut study so that we can look and see, hey, your gut microbiome are really dysbiotic or out of balance because of this. So these are the things that we really need to lean on. These are the foods we need to lean on. These are the things we need to do to really help this transition off birth control be as seamless as possible and help your body start making hormones, right? And
I love that.
Telling them too, hey, this isn't, to your point, it's going to kind of be like the luteal phase for a few months. Like, we've got to give ourselves some grace and we've got to be nice and, we've got to let ourselves repair. I think I had an interesting conversation with someone recently and I was kind of thinking about it too. I think because of social media, because of, everything that you hear about go, go, go and do this and you need to exercise this and I think that we just push ourselves sometimes way too hard. We don't allow ourselves to have enough rest. And sometimes just resting and allowing your body to heal and repair is so powerful. So just trying to teach people that,
Ooh, the lesson for the ages. So it's the lesson I need to hear.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It definitely, probably maybe you in your book launch too, where you're just like, oh my goodness, my head is on a swivel. And I know that there are seasons in life. So any woman listening to this, it was like, oh my God, have you seen all the things? I get that there's seasons. You're right. I think we all need that beautiful reminder to just allow our bodies to heal. Your body cannot heal in survival mode. It cannot heal in ultimate productivity mode. Call it what you want to call it. You put whatever stamp you want to put on it. It's all the same thing. It's your body is running from a tiger ultimately. And when the majority of us are in that state all day long, there's no room for your mitochondria to repair. There's no room for your gut microbiome to feel supported. Even how you digest food, as we talked about earlier, if you're standing at your countertop in the kitchen or you're eating on the go or you're eating in your office while you're working, that is not, that is rushed eating right there. I'm just,
I know.
I think we all raised our hands.
It's so nice. Like I told my husband this morning, I actually sat down this morning. I was eating my breakfast. I was kind of just because I didn't have anything early to do this morning. And I was like, it's so nice to just eat your breakfast and just I don't know, just nothing was going through my mind. I was just eating, And it's you kind of forget that it's oh, this is how it's supposed to be, And I joke with people. I tell people, the last year, probably the last 2 years, I've been kind of hitting it pretty hard. But I said, hey, the book is out now, it's launched. And so I'm in halftime mode. When people ask me, what are you doing for Q? My marketer and we're what are we doing for Q2? What are we doing for Q3? I'm I don't know. Cassie's in kind of halftime mode right now. So we're just going to kind of coast for a minute, just need to breathe. So I think everyone needs to think about when is the last time you were in halftime mode? You just really enjoyed what you've done and you've just kind of let yourself rest. Because when you go in those modes too, what I've found, and I mean, I know you know this, but when you allow yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of time, a little bit of breather, and you're not just go, 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 that's when you get the best ideas. That's when you figure out, hey, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Your body can't figure this out when it's just constantly in chaos, right? So I think, really think about that, keeping it. And I also promised myself this year that I'm going to take one day a week and I'm just not going to work. I'm going to actually, take the Sabbath and not do something, which I think is really important, right?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I love all of that advice. And if it's feeling like a lot, you can punctuate your day with mini moments. I had a decision to make this morning whether I would walk to the beach, which I'm a very efficient person. I pride myself on efficiency and I know how quickly I can get to the beach and back in 20 minutes. Okay. So I was doing the math, I was calculating, and there were things in the house to do. There's always things in the house to do. There's always stuff to do. There's always emails to respond to. I had made the mistake of checking my inbox. So I knew that there were things I needed to respond to. And I had what I call a game time decision. I had 30 minutes before this interview. I could walk my butt to the beach and back, or I could handle my business. And I chose the beach. And it was so, yeah, so and I'm always so proud of it. It's such a big, proud moment. Every day I ask my son, what are you most proud of? What is the thing that you're most proud of that you did today? And I will tell you right now, for me, it's the walk to the beach. And maybe for you, it was sitting down and eating breakfast.
Yeah. No, because you show up to this interview better and then you're going to show up to the rest of your day better too, right? And I think that's the other thing that's really important, as a business owner, and you know this too, if you look at your inbox and it's almost just you're crushed, you're oh, I have all these things. But what I've learned is that they can set, right? Nothing that's in there is actually going to if you answer it right now or you answer it tomorrow, there's usually not a whole lot that's going to change between whether you do it now or tomorrow. Now, social media will have you believe that if you don't make split-second decisions and fix stuff all the time, then you're just weak and, but that is not true in the grand scheme of things, right? And so it's just like you have to decide to prioritize yourself, and you decided to walk to the beach, which I think is amazing. So like, good for you. And we just need to be okay as women doing that, like making those decisions and then not feeling guilty about doing it.
Ooh, the not feeling guilty part.
Yeah.
I hear that. Ownership, anything. Yes. Well, I want to know, where can we get the book? Where can we get more of you?
Well, thank you for asking. You can get the book on Amazon. So you just type in Fix Your Gut, Fix Your Hormones, or my name, Dr. Cassie Smith. It should come up. So the book's on Amazon. I have a social media. It's at modernendocrine_. I have a website, www.modern-endocrine.com. I do a lot of stuff on social. I have a podcast I had you on, Hormones, Metabolism, and You. And I just try to give really good information in those outlets for people, because there's a lot of people not giving the best information.
I hear that.
Right?
I hear that.
But yeah, I mean, the book's on Amazon, and I really did it. I wrote it just because I wanted people to be able to pick something up. It's a pretty big book, but
It
and you
is.
don't have to,
I was like, ooh.
you don't have to read it all at once, but there's sections in there, right? There's sections about, hey, this is just what our gut is, and ways to help our gut. There's sections about PCOS. There's a section about infertility. There's a section about menopause. There's a section about putting it all together. And that's what I tell people, like, pick it up and figure out what section you need and come back to it. But I really just wanted people to have something that they could go to as a resource, and then maybe be able to ask educated questions of their providers, or just, there's resources in there of where you can go get information. But I just wanted people to have the information that you and I know, which is your gut is where all healing begins. It's going to affect every hormone in your body. And until you really get a hold of that, you're going to have a domino effect that nobody's ever going to be able to figure out, because we silo things in medicine, and your hormones can't be siloed. And so you've got to address that. And there are simple things you can do, and you will feel better.
I love that. It was such a pleasure to get to have you on, and to get to talk about the book, and just to get to talk about the range of how interconnected everything is, and give women hope, especially when they're feeling stuck. And I love that this book is so freaking practical. It's going to be in the show notes. And again, I love following you. I love your information. So I'll have the social links and the links there as well. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
This conversation was such a powerful reminder that hormones do not work in isolation. Your gut, your metabolism, your nervous system, inflammation levels, stress response, and hormones are all deeply interconnected. Nothing is operating in a silo. And when one system is struggling, the others follow in suit. And I think many women are going to feel seen by today's conversation, because so many of the symptoms that my patients experience in midlife are often dismissed as just hormones, or just aging, or just stress, or you know what, it's the way it is. Like, that's even an answer. And what's really going on is the body is asking for deeper support and healing to get to the root cause of what is going on. So if today's conversation resonated with you, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Cassie Smith's new book, Fix Your Gut, Fix Your Hormones. It's packed with practical tools and insights to help you better understand the gut-hormone connection and start feeling more energized, balanced, resilient, and supported in your body again. Also, you should know that right now I am starting a cohort of women that are working with me. I am doing a group coaching cohort, and then a hybrid coaching cohort where you work specifically with me, and you also are in a beautiful container of women that are working with me as well. I will have the link for that too. If you want to learn more, you can apply to work with me. I think it's drmariza.com/apply. And I am so excited for this beautiful group of women, because I believe that we need root cause solutions. We need to understand what's going on in our bodies. And when we start to listen to what is going on, it just opens the door for major healing miracles. And if you know another woman who's struggling with bloating, fatigue, hormone symptoms, brain fog, stubborn weight gain, or poor sleep, or simply just not feeling like themselves anymore lately, send this episode to her, because I think this conversation is going to connect a lot of dots. Also, go back and check out my episode with Cynthia Thurlow, one of my dearest friends. Her new book called The Menopause Gut is also a great resource for this. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Energized podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.